Good day. My name is Bernard Alfred Hortelano from BSCE 1A, and I'm going to talk about transportation engineering. Everyone is aware that mobility is a basic human need. From ancient times, everyone travels either for food or leisure. A closely associated need is the transport of raw materials to a manufacturing unit or finished goods for consumption. Transportation fulfills these basic needs of humanity. But before we talk about transportation engineering, we must first identify what transportation is. Transportation is all about moving goods and people from one place to another. It is also safe, efficient, reliable, and sustainable movements of persons and goods over time and space. Transportation plays a major role in the development of human civilization. For instance, one could easily observe the strong correlation between the evolution of human settlement and the proximity of transportation facilities. Also, there is a strong correlation between the quality of transport facilities and standard of living, because of which society places a great expectation from transportation facilities. In other words, the solution to transportation problems must be analytically based, economically sound, socially credible, environmentally sensitive, and practically acceptable and sustainable. Alternatively, transportation solutions should be safe, rapid, comfortable, convenient, economical, and eco-friendly for both men and material. What is transportation engineering? Transportation engineering is a type of civil engineering which focuses on the infrastructures of transportation, all the elements which support the movement of goods and people. Transportation engineers design runways, build bridges, lay out roads, and plan docking facilities. They look at traffic patterns, determine when new transport facilities are needed, and come up with better ways to get from point A to point B. Also, application of technology and scientific principles to the planning, functional design, operation, and management of facilities for any mode of transportation in order to provide for the safe, rapid, comfortable, convenient, economical, and environmentally compatible movement of people and goods. There are different types of infrastructures that transportation engineers build. First are bridges. Some example of bridges is the Golden Gate Bridge from San Francisco, California, and the Sydney Harbour Bridge from Sydney, Australia. Next are airports. One example of airports is the Beijing International Airport from Langfang, China. Next are roads. Next is railways and stations. One example is the Settle Carlisle Railway from Settle, England. Next are walkways. Next we have tunnels. One example is the Eisenhower Tunnel from Colorado. Next we have ports and waterways. One example is the port of Shanghai from China.
I'm James Paul H. Lazona from BSCE 1A, and I'm going to discuss the characteristics of transportation system. There are five characteristics of transportation system that makes it diverse and complex. The multimodal, multi-sector, multi-problem, multi-objective, and multidisciplinary. Multimodal, covering all modes of transport, air, land, and sea, for both passengers and freight. Multi-sector, encompassing the problem and viewpoint of government, private industry, and public. Multi-problem, ranging across a spectrum of issues that includes national and international policy, planning of regional system, the location and design of specific facilities, carrier management issues, regulatory, institutional, and financial policies. Multi-objective, aiming at national and regional economics development. urban development, environmental quality, and social quality, as well as service to users and financial and economic feasibility. Multidisciplinary, drawing on the theories and methods of engineering, economics operation research, political science, psychology, other natural and social sciences, management, and law.
Hi everyone, my name is Jessamine P. Hular from BSCE 1A, and I'm going to give you a brief discussion about the history of transportation engineering. So here it goes. Long before cars, snowmobiles, and airplanes, humans had migrated to all over the earth powered almost exclusively by their feet. Basically, that was the first mode of transportation back in the ancient times. Eventually, people got tired of walking around and carrying everything on their backs. This pushed people to use animals to help them carry goods. In that way, the delivery of goods was easier. So here are the examples of animals used back in the ancient times to help them carry the goods. The first one are horses, and the second one is camel. They also built machines and devices like sleds and travois to help them more. In some parts of the world, they began using the wheel and axle to build carts. And as people traveled back and forth, establishing trading routes, well-used paths became more and more permanent. These paths became the first road, and as time went on, people started to maintain the roads and look at ways in which they could be made easier to travel. These people are considered to be the first transportation engineers. This strong interrelationship and the interaction between transportation and the rest of the society, especially in a rapidly changing world, is significant to a transportation planner. So here are the four critical dimensions in transportation change system. The first one is the change in demand. When the population, income, and land use pattern changes, the pattern of demand changes both in amount and spatial distribution of that demand. The second one is the changes in the technology. As an example earlier, only two alternatives such as bus transit and rail transit were considered for urban transportation. But now, new systems like ITS, LRT, MRTS, and etc. offer a variety of alternatives. The third one is the change in operational policy. So variety of policy options designed to improve the efficiency, such as incentive for carpooling, bus fare, road tolls, and etc. So the last one is the change in values of the people. And that's a short discussion of the history of transportation engineering.
I am Nestle N. B. Laban, and I will be talking about the major disciplines in transportation engineering. It consists of four major parts: transportation planning, geometric design, pavement analysis and design, and traffic engineering. Transportation planning. It involves the development of transport model, accurately representing both the current and future transport system. It relates also to the elements of urban planning and involve forecasting decisions and political factors. It improves efficiency, quality, and promotes equity. Transportation planning is the process of defining future goals, investments and designs, and preparing for the future needs to move people and goods to destination. Number 2, geometric design. It deals with the physical proportioning of transportation facilities, deals with the dimensions of the road and layout of feasible highway. It is majorly concerned with the design of the road elements and does not include pavement design, structural, and drainage component. It is designed to provide efficiency in traffic with maximum safety at a reasonable cost. It includes horizontal alignment, vertical alignment, and cross-section. Horizontal alignment and vertical alignment talk about the route of the road, defined as a series of horizontal tangents and curves, while cross-section shows positions of vehicles, bicycle lanes, and sidewalks. Number 3, pavement design and planning. Pavement design and planning deals with the structural design of roads, both bituminous and concrete, commonly known as flexible and rigid pavements. It deals with the design of paving materials, determination of layer thickness, and construction and maintenance procedure. Thus, design mainly covers structural design, functional aspects, and drainage design. Structural design ensures that the pavement has enough strength to withstand the impact of loads. Functional design emphasizes on the riding quality, and the drainage design protects the pavement from damage due to water infiltration. Number 4. Traffic engineering. It covers a broad range of engineering application with a focus on the safety of the public, efficient use of transportation resources, and mobility of people and goods. It involves a variety of engineering and management skills including design, operation, and system optimization. In order to address the said requirement, the traffic engineer must first understand the traffic flow behavior and characteristics by extensive collection of traffic flow data. Traffic flow is controlled so that transport infrastructure is used optimally as well as with good service quality. In short, the role of a traffic engineer is to protect the environment while providing mobility, preserve scarce resources while assuring economic activity, and assure safety and security to people and vehicles through both acceptable practices and high-tech communications.
Other important disciplines. So, in addition to the four major disciplines of transportation, there are other several important disciplines that are being evolved in the past few decades. Although it is difficult to categorize them into separate well-defined disciplines because of the significant overlap, it may be worth the effort to highlight the importance given by the transportation community. They can be enumerated as below. Number 1. Public transportation. Public transportation or mass transportation deals with the steady transport of the transportation system that meets the travel need of several people by sharing a vehicle. Generally, this focuses on the urban travel by bus and rail transit. The major topics include characteristics of various modes, planning, management and operations, and policies for promoting public transportation. Number 2. Financial and economic analysis. Transportation facilities require large capital investments. Therefore, it is imperative that whoever invests money should get the returns. When government invests in transportation, its objective is not often monetary returns, but social benefits. The economic analysis of transportation project tries to quantify the economic benefit, which includes saving in travel time, fuel consumption, etc. This will help the planner in evaluating various projects and to optimally allocate funds. On the contrary, private sector investments require monetary profits from the projects. Financial evaluation tries to quantify the return from a project. Number 3. Environmental impact assessment. The depletion of fossil fuels and the degradation of the environment has been a severe concern of the planners in the past few decades. Transportation, in spite of its benefits to the society, is a major contributor to that concern. The environmental impact assessment attempts in quantifying the environmental impact and tries to evolve strategies for the mitigation and reduction of the impact due to both construction and operation. The primary impacts are fossil fuel consumption, air pollution, and noise pollution. Number 4. Accident analysis and reduction. One of the silent killers of humanity is transportation. Several statistics evaluate that more people are killed due to transportation than great wars and natural disasters. This discipline of transportation looks at the causes of accidents from the perspective of human, road, and vehicle and formulate plans for the reduction. Number 5. Intelligent transport system. With the advent to computers, communication, and vehicle technology, it is possible in these days to operate transportation system much effectively with significant reduction in the adverse impacts of transportation. Intelligent transport systems offer better mobility, efficiency, and safety with the help of the state-of-the-art technology. So, in addition, discipline-specific various modes are also common. This includes railway engineering, port and harbor engineering, and airport engineering.
Good day everyone, I am Michael Clemente Tosis from BSCE 1A and I am going to discuss about the factors in transportation development.
Transportation is developed because of several and frequently overlapping factors. So now I am going to discuss the following important factors.
The first is the economic factor. Almost all transport development is economic in origin. The chief preoccupation of the first human was the procurement of food, shelter, and sometimes clothing. As they become more highly developed, their needs increased, often beyond what their local economy could supply. Means of transporting goods from distant places had to be devised, adding to the cost of their goods thereby secured. The need for transporting individuals over wider areas also arose. Increasing transportation productivity and lower unit cost have occurred over the years as the system of transportation becomes more highly developed and complex. The second is geographical factor. Geography is closely related to economics. The geographical location of natural resources determines transport routes that gives access to those resources that create economic utility, that is time and place utility, by taking them from a location where they have little values to processing and consuming areas where their value is vastly increased. The third is political policies. Political policies frequently play a deciding role in transport development. Basically, is in a way to form integrated political system and control. The fourth is the military factor. The military might of a nation is primarily intended to support its political policies and to provide for national defense. Consequently, often it has direct influence to transport development.
The fifth is the technological factor. Progress in direct and supporting technologies has played an obvious role in transportation. For the instance, introduction of new economical transportation mode to the existing system calls for the development of transportation. The sixth is the competition. The competitive urges have given a powerful impetus to transport development. Railroads compete with railroad, also with trucks, barges, pipelines, and airlines. The seventh is urbanization. The rapid growth of urban areas by an even more rapidly expanding population is a phenomenon that cannot be overlooked among transport development factors. Accessibility to land and the intensity of land use are closely related to transport availability.
According to Sweden Paddy, the role of a transportation engineer is to develop efficient transportation systems that will cope with progress at a rapid pace. Good day everyone, I'm KCF Mendizabal, and I will discuss to you the different roles of transportation. The role of transportation in society. Transportation is a non-separable part of any society. It exhibits a very close relation to the style of life, the range and location of activities, and the goods and services which will be available for consumption. Advances in transportation has made possible changes in the way of living and the way in which societies are organized, and therefore have a great influence in the development of civilizations. This topic conveys an understanding of the importance of transportation in the modern society by presenting selected characteristics of existing transportation systems, their use, and relationships to other human activities. Transportation is responsible for the development of civilizations from very old times by meeting travel requirement of people and transport requirement of goods. Such movement has changed the way people live and travel. In developed and developing nations, a large fraction of people travel daily for work, shopping, and social reasons. But transport also consumes a lot of resources like time, fuel, materials, and land. The economic role of transportation. Economics involves production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services. People depend upon the natural resources to satisfy the needs of life. But due to non-uniform surface of Earth,
And due to difference in local resources, there is a lot of difference in standard of living in different societies. So there is an immense requirement of transport of resources from one particular society to another. These resources can range from material things to knowledge and skills, like movement of doctors and technicians, to the places where there is need of them. Without the ability to transport manufactured goods, raw materials, and technical know-how, a country is simply unable to maximize the comparative advantage it may have in the form of natural or human resources. Goods have little values unless given utility, that is, the capacity for being useful and satisfying wants. Transportation contributes two kinds of utilities, place and time utility. Next, the social role of transportation. Transportation has always played an important role in influencing the formation of urban societies. Although other facilities like availability of food and water played a major role, the contribution of transportation can be seen clearly from the formation, size and pattern, and the development of societies, especially urban centers. Formation of settlements. From the beginning of civilization, the man is living in settlements which existed near banks of major river junctions, a port, or an intersection of trade routes. Size and pattern of settlement. The initial settlements were relatively small developments, but with due course of time, they grew in population and developed into big cities and major trade centers. Growth of urban centers. When the cities grow beyond normal walking distance, then transportation technology plays a role in the formation of the city. The environmental role of transportation. The negative effects of transportation are more dominating than its useful aspects as far as transportation is concerned. There are numerous categories into which the environmental effects have been categorized. They are explained in the following sections. First, safety. Growth of transportation has a very unfortunate impact on the society in terms of accidents. Next, air pollution. All transport modes consume energy, and the most common source of energy is from the burning of fossil fuels like coal, petrol, diesel, etc. The relation between air pollution and respiratory disease has been demonstrated by various studies, and the detrimental effects on the planet Earth are widely recognized recently. Next is noise pollution. Sound is acoustical energy released into atmosphere by vibrating or moving bodies, whereas noise is unwanted sound produced. Transportation is a major contributor of noise pollution, especially in urban areas. Noise is generated during both construction and operation. Energy consumption. The spectacular growths in industrial and economic growth during the past century have been closely related to an abundant supply of inexpensive energy from fossil fuels. Transportation sector is unbelieved to consume more than half of the petroleum products. The compact of a shortage of fuel was experienced during major wars when strict rationing was imposed in many countries. Other impacts of transportation. Transportation directly or indirectly affects many other areas of society, and few of them are listed. First, the increased travel requirement also require additional land for transport facilities. A good transportation system takes considerable amount of land from the society. Aesthetics of a region is also affected by transportation. Road networks in quiet countryside are visual intrusion. Similarly, the transportation facilities like flyovers are again visual intrusion in urban context. The social life and social pattern of a community is severely affected after the introduction of some transportation facilities. Construction of new transportation facilities often requires substantial relocation of residents and employment opportunities.
Hello, I'm Kenneth and I'm going to discuss about modes of transportation. Modes of transportation or transport modes are the means of people and freight to achieve mobility, or simply how they are transported. They fall into three categories depending on what surface they are traveling on. First is land. It breaks into three parts, namely road transportation, rail transportation, and pipeline transportation. Second is water. which is maritime transportation. And lastly is air transportation. Let me first discuss about road transportation. Road transportation is the transport or movement of people and freight from one location to another on roads. There are many advantages of road transport in comparison to others. Example of this is the delivery of goods between cities, towns, and small villages is made possible only through road transport. Next is rail transportation. Rail transportation is a means of transferring passengers and freight on vehicles which run on tracks. These tracks are rails or railroads. Rail transport is also known as train transport. Then pipeline transportation. Pipeline transportation is a method of transportation which involves movement of solid, liquid, or gaseous products over long distances through pipelines. This mode of transportation is mostly used for transport of crude and refined petroleum products such as oil and natural gases. Next is maritime transportation. Maritime transportation is the shipment of goods, cargo, and people by sea and other waterways. Maritime transportation is the most effective mode to move large quantities of cargo over long distances. Main maritime routes are composed of oceans, coasts, seas, lakes, rivers, and channels. Next is air transportation. Air transportation is the movement of passengers and cargo by aircraft, such as airplanes and helicopters. It has become the primary means of common carrier traveling. Lastly is intermodal transportation. Though this is not mentioned before, but it is an important mode of transportation because intermodal transportation uses combination of modes so that respective advantages of each mode are better exploited.